Mr. Sergeant at Arms, invite the members into the chamber and close the doors. I hereby declare the House of Representatives of the 114th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee now in session. Will the members please stand? Will the visitors in the gallery please stand and remain standing through the Pledge of Allegiance? Representative Grills will serve as the chaplain of the day. Representative Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Guys, a lot of y'all know, or members, a lot of you know that I'm a farmer. And whenever we go out every spring to put our crops in, to make sure we have a straight row, we find us something at the end of the farm or the end of the field, like we'll find us a tree. And we'll take off from where we are and we'll drive straight to that tree. And as we come up to a fence row or a brush pile or a ditch, we'll have to go around it and we may get off the straight and narrow. And when we get off the straight and narrow, we come back around it. How do you get straightened back out? You look to that tree, and that tree is your compass. And you point and you get right back in line with that tree and you get straightened out again. Life throws us curves, balls every day, fastball sliders. And we get messed up. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2 uses that verse. Thank you. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2 says, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. So in life, if you just realize where you are and you start focusing on where you're going and you start looking to Jesus, you'll wind up at his feet. Just like farming. If you want those rows to be straight, you got to look where you're going. If not, you'll go where you're looking. Let's pray. God, we come before you today thanking you for the opportunity to get to serve in this house. God, I want to thank you for the freedoms that we get to experience on a daily basis. God, I want to thank you for your mercy, your grace, and your goodness. Thank you for my family. Thank you, God, for just loving me. But Lord, most of all, thank you for sending your son to die on the cross to save us from our sins. God, we pray for wisdom today. We pray for unction. God, we pray for just discernment. And Lord, we pray that everything that we do brings honor and glory to you. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Representative Grills will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Roll call.
Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 92 members present.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Welcoming, honoring, and announcements.
Representative Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been asked to announce that everyone is invited to the Bible study tomorrow morning at 7:30 in House Hearing Room 4. Pastor John Hunn of First Baptist Church, Lenore City, will be the guest.
Representative Carringer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to wish my son, Kent Michael Carringer, a very happy birthday today, and your father and I love you so much. And also, I wanted to announce that it is 911 Appreciation Week. So please tell all of your 911 first responders and all that we're praying for them each day, and that we're very thankful for all they do across the state. Thank you.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members, just as a reminder that our 2026 Statement of Interest is due tomorrow, April 15. Make sure that you file them with the Tennessee Ethics Commissions. And if you have any questions, see Mr. Doug Himes.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to wish Kayla Etherly, our legislative archivist, a happy birthday. So let's give her a round of applause. Happy birthday, Kayla.
Leader Camper.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members, if you see Senator Agberry today, wish her happy birthday. Today is her birthday.
Representative Sparks.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to wish my wife 37th anniversary. I met her. She was 15, I was 19 when we started dating. But you know, folks, the power of prayer works. I prayed as a young man, and the good Lord brought her into my life. So happy anniversary, Felicia.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction to resolutions.
Leader Lambert, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that all resolutions properly filed be introduced pursuant to order number 17 and placed on the consent calendar referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Joint Resolutions congratulatory and memorializing.
Leader Lambert, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that all Senate joint resolutions congratulatory and memorializing the line of that be placed on the consent calendar pursuant to order number 17.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Resolutions lying over.
Leader Lambert, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that all resolutions lying over be referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction of bills.
Leader Lambert, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that House Bills 2,667 and 2,668 be introduced and passed on first consideration.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate bills on first consideration, Senate bills on second consideration, House bills on second consideration, petitions and memorials, reports from standing committees, reports from select committees, calendars. Mr. Speaker, the House has a consent calendar.
Chair Lady Moody, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of the consent calendar on third and final consideration in keeping with Rule 50.
Chair Lady moves passage of the consent calendar properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, are there any objections filed?
Mr. Speaker, no objections filed.
Anyone seeking recognition on the consent calendar? We're voting on the consent calendar. All members in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Morse. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 90, no nays, 3 present, not voting.
Having received a constitutional majority, I declare the consent calendar passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the House has a regular calendar.
Leader Lambert, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to take up item 72 by Farmer at this time.
Chairman Farmer, you recognize.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute Senate Joint Resolution number 624 for House Joint Resolution number 808.
Chairman Farmer moves to substitute Senate Joint Resolution 624 for House Joint Resolution number 808, properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Mr. Clerk, are there any amendments filed?
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, what this resolution does, it would, House Joint Resolution 808 is a constitutional amendment that reaffirms that only United States citizens may vote in all Tennessee elections. And with that, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to concur in Senate Joint Resolution 624 and request the clerk read SCR 624 for its first reading.
Chairman Farmer moves to concur in SJR 624. Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution.
Senate Joint Resolution 624, a resolution to propose an amendment to Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution of Tennessee to specify that only citizens of the United States may vote in state, county, or municipal elections. Be it resolved by the Senate of the 114th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the House of Representatives concurring, that a majority of all the members of each House concurring, as shown by the yeas and nays entered on their journals, that it is proposed that Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution of Tennessee is amended by deleting the section in its entirety and substituting instead the following: every person being 18 years of age, being a citizen of the United States, being a resident of the state for a period of time as prescribed by the General Assembly, and being duly registered in the county of residence for a period of time prior to the day of any election as prescribed by the General Assembly, shall be entitled to vote in all federal, state, and local elections held in the county or district in which such person resides. All such requirements shall be equal and uniform across the state, and there shall be no other qualifications attached to the right of suffrage. No person who is not a citizen excuse me, Mr. Speaker, backing up. All such requirements shall be equal and uniform across the state, and there shall be no other qualification attached to the right of suffrage. No person who is not a citizen of the United States shall be entitled to vote in any election held in this state, including elections for state, county, municipal, or district offices, or for any ballot measure, referendum, or other question submitted to the people. The General Assembly shall have the power to enact laws requiring voters to vote in the election precincts in which they may reside, and laws to secure the freedom of elections and the purity of the ballot box. All male citizens of this state shall be subject to the performance of military duty as may be prescribed by law. Be it further resolved that the foregoing amendment be referred to the 115th General Assembly, and that this resolution proposing such amendment be published in accordance with Article 11, Section 3 of the Constitution of Tennessee by posting such amendment on the official website of the Secretary of State and on the official website of the General Assembly. Be it further resolved that the Clerk of the Senate is directed to deliver a copy of this resolution to the Secretary of State, with this final resolving clause being deleted from such copies.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Joint Resolution 624 be set for its second reading on.
Without objection, so ordered.
Wednesday the 15th. Tomorrow, Wednesday the 15th. April.
Chairman
Okay.
Farmer.
All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Joint Resolution 624 be set for its second reading on Wednesday, April 15th, 2026.
Without objection, so ordered. Leader Lambert, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For purposes, again, of first reading, I move to take up item 74 at this time.
Leader Lambert, you recognize. Leader Lambert, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute Senate Joint Resolution number 551 for House Joint Resolution number 729.
Leader Lambert moves to substitute Senate Joint Resolution 551 for House Joint Resolution 729, properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Mr. Clerk, are there any amendments filed?
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Leader Lambert, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to concur in SJR 551 and request the clerk read SJR 551 for its first reading.
Leader Lambert moves to concur in Senate Joint Resolution 551. Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution.
Senate Joint Resolution 551, a resolution to propose an amendment to Article 7, Section 5 of the Constitution of Tennessee to change the date of elections for judicial and other civil officers. Whereas Article 7, Section 5 requires elections for judicial and other civil officers to be held on the first Thursday in August, while Article 2, Section 7 requires elections for members of the General Assembly to be held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, and whereas Article 3, Section 2 requires the election for governor to be held on the same day as for members of the General Assembly, and whereas Congress has also specified the first Tuesday after the first Monday for the election of United States senators and representatives and electors for president pursuant to 2 USCA Section 7 and 3 USCA Section 1, respectively. And whereas having all federal, state, and local elections on the same day would save this state and its local governments money and increase voter participation in local government elections, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate of the 114th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the House of Representatives concurring, that a majority of all the members of each house concurring, as shown by the yeas and nays entered on their journals, that it is proposed that Article 7, Section 5 of the Constitution of Tennessee be amended by deleting the following language. Elections for judicial and other civil officers shall be held on the first Thursday in August, 1870, and forever thereafter on the first Thursday in August, next preceding the expiration of their respective terms of service. The term of each officer so elected shall be computed from the first day of September next succeeding his election, and substituting instead the following. Beginning with the election held in 2034, judicial officers and all other elected county officials, except the assessor of property, are elected on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, next preceding the expiration of their respective terms of service. The term of each officer so elected is computed from the first day of December next succeeding the officer's election. Beginning with the election held in 2032, the assessors of property are elected on the first Thursday in August, next preceding the expiration of their respective terms or of service. The term of assessor of property so elected is computed from the first day of September next succeeding his election. Be it further resolved that the foregoing amendment be referred to the 115th General Assembly, and that this resolution proposing such amendment be published by the Secretary of State in accordance with Article 11, Section 3 of the Constitution of Tennessee, by posting such amendment on the official website of the Secretary of State and on the official website of the General Assembly. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the Senate is directed to deliver copies of this resolution to the Secretary of State, with this final resolving clause being deleted from such copies.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that SJR 551 be set for its second reading on Wednesday, April the 15th, 2026.
Without objection, so ordered. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to roll item 15, 20 spaces on today's calendar.
Leader
Yes,
Lambert.
yesterday's calendar. We're living back to the future.
Without objection, so ordered. Call up the next bill, Mr. Clerk. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to roll that 1 week.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Speaker, I believe that brings the body back to item 36 on yesterday's calendar. Item 36, House Bill 2560 by Leader Lambert and others relative to emergency management.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move passage of House Bill 2560 on third and final consideration.
Leader Lambert moves passage, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call with the First Amendment.
House State and Local Government Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 is withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Government Operations Committee Amendment number 1 filed as House Amendment 2.
Chairman Lafferty, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment 2 is withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Finance Ways Means Committee Amendment number 1 filed as House Amendment 3.
Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment rewrites the bill and move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Representative Gillespie moves adoption of amendment number 3, properly seconded. Any questions on the amendment? All those in favor of amendment number 3 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This creates the Department of Tennessee Emergency Management Authority, TEMA, as it is currently known, but it would be a standalone department. It would no longer be under the Department of Military. With that, I renew my motion.
Leader Lambert renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Any objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of HB 2560 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 85, 9 nays, 1 present, not voting.
HB 2560 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Item 37, House Bill 2184 by Representative Langford relative to civil procedure. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative Langford, you recognize.
No.
Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, you don't recognize the fellow in the well right now because he's newer to our body, and whatever bill is next will be his very first bill in the well. So please feel free to enjoy yourselves. With that, Mr. Speaker, I would move to roll this item one space.
Without objection, so moved. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings us to item 38 from yesterday's calendar, House Bill 2474 by Representative Langford relative to unmanned traffic enforcement cameras. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on this.
Representative Langford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2443.
Representative Langford moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2443, properly seconded. Without objection, so ordered. Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2443 on third and final consideration.
Representative Langford moves passage of Senate Bill 2443 on third and final consideration, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up the First Amendment.
House Transportation Committee Amendment number 1, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Howell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Amendment 1 is withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Langford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, under current Tennessee law, school zone speed cameras may operate at all times regardless of whether school is in session or children are present. This legislation addresses that by aligning enforcement with actual risk, limiting camera use to periods when school zone lights are flashing or children are present. Additionally, it addresses concerns that these systems are being used as revenue tools by limiting their operation. This is an adjustment that prioritizes safety while ensuring consistency and fairness in enforcement, and I renew my motion.
Representative Langford renews his motion. Representative Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before others might have their fun, I wanted to ask a specific question about the bill. So a lot of times the school zones, as you go into the summertime or during other periods when school might be out, those zones are still, those lights still blink. People forget to turn them off. If that was to happen, if it wasn't a school day and those were on for whatever reason, that would not classify under this bill. Is that correct?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's correct. These citations are reviewed by an in-person officer before they're sent out.
Representative Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative, I'm not going to mess with you either. I actually have a couple of straight questions. The definition of when children are present, is there a legal definition of what that means?
Representative Langford.
No, this legislation really just prioritizes safety. So if the lights are not flashing, but children are present, that presents a safety concern, and you would need to abide by that.
Representative Barrett.
The reason I asked the question is we've got this specific situation in Burns where we have these cameras that have been set up outside of Burns Elementary and Burns Middle School. And I think everybody understands that when the lights are flashing, that's during your school zone times when the buses are running and that sort of thing. But what happens when these schools are right on the highway, children are present in the school, maybe they're playing in the playground or something along those lines. Does that mean that these cameras and these citations can be issued during the day while school is in session? Or is it only intended for these cameras to be able to issue citations during the time when the buses are traveling?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The goal of this is to identify when risks are present and real danger. So it could be issued when the children are present or when the lights are flashing. It's an either or, and it's reviewed by an in-person officer as well. So.
Representative Barrett.
Thank you. Representative, I love what you're doing and where you're going with this. I wish there was a concrete definition of what it means when children are present, because I think there's going to be too much gray area with this as to how it's going to be enforced. Different companies that are running these cameras are going to interpret that in a different way if we don't provide some sort of concrete definition and rein that in. And my last question is this. Will this bill, if we pass this today and this year, when it goes into effect, will it have any retroactive effect on contracts that have already been signed and entered into by municipalities?
Representative Langford.
No, this is not retroactive. It'll take effect when passed.
Chairman Clemens. Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to pull the string on what my colleague just asked. So there's an existing contract that runs through 2028. This takes effect today, but their contract is set up for them to issue these citations and go through this process. And if this law changes that, who they issue tickets to, which one trumps the other one? Do we need to negotiate a new contract based on this law, or are we going to give them additional guidance based on this law, or will their ticketing process continue the way it is?
Representative Langford.
This doesn't make any changes to the length of the contracts. All it does is specify the time when tickets can be issued.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I appreciate the spirit of the bill, but I think this might be very problematic for those reasons that we talked about. Our schools are in unique situations. Some on busy interstate highways, some are buried in communities where, so I guess my concern is that this may put more, I would say, judgment in our ticketing process than exists today. So again, I understand the bill, but maybe in next year we can continue to work on this, because I don't think this is fully baked at this time. But thank you.
Chairman Sapicki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a real question, okay? Spring Hill High School sits on Highway 31 in Murray County. Out front of Spring Hill High School is their practice field where they do football and soccer. Is your bill, if they're out there at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening practicing football or soccer, do those cameras come into effect for the school zone that sits out front?
Representative Langford.
This bill does say that when children are present, the goal of this bill is safety. And so when children are near the road and it presents a safety concern, then this would go into effect.
Representative Sapicki.
I totally get your intent with that, but I don't think the intent is if a football team is practicing into the vicinity of the road at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock at night that the cameras would come into play here. So I'll thank you for your legislation.
Chairman Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And sponsor, is current law states that there is a provision that allows, from my understanding, it's kind of wide open. These traffic cameras can be placed within an area that the school zone is in, but there's no, there is no limitations as to when they can be utilized or not. Is your bill narrowing that down from a wide open range where they are within the school zone currently and can be utilized and monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're tailoring this down to just a specific time when the school flashers are working and there are children present at the school?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's correct. Initially, the goal was broad compliance. Over time, we've learned that tying enforcement to actual risk creates better policy and public trust.
Representative Doggett.
Thank you, sir.
Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the sponsor, it kind of picks up on what one of my colleagues asked a question about the time. With this particular bill, the time in which these cameras would operate would be determined by whenever children are present. And so if there was an activity at the school at night, would this trigger those cameras operating at nighttime?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. These cameras are enforced when the yellow lights are flashing, as with any identifiable school zone, or when children are present. Again, we're trying to identify risk and reduce that risk. So when children are present, yes.
Representative Love.
Thank you. And I do understand that perspective. Certainly safety is a concern we all have for children in that area. Just do have concern about the fact that there's no specified number. So if there are 5 out there in an activity, it triggers it. If there are 20, it triggers it. And it's just, again, the definition is when children are present. Does it have to be children present for a school activity? I know in some instances, there are school areas where people from the community may use that area. They may not be using it with permission from the school, but they're there nonetheless. So when schools have playgrounds or school have baseball diamonds, sometimes people from the neighborhood use that area without maybe permission from the school, but they're there nonetheless. Does their presence there also trigger the lights to come on or to be enacted at that time also?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To answer your question on the number of children present, there's not a number. I think if one children's present and the risk is there, then we should protect them just the same as if there were 5. The yellow lights that are flashing, they're set by the local municipality, so they'll come on regardless, set on that time. And again, if there are children present and there's risk there, that's what we're trying to do is to reduce that risk.
Representative Love.
Thank you, sponsor.
Leader Lambert.
All right, one, you're doing a really good job. Okay, keep it up. You're representing your folks well. And this is robust debate. But with that, Mr. Speaker, I would roll this bill one space.
Without objection, so ordered. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I'd move to take up House Bill 1463 from today's calendar.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Speaker, for the members, that is item 3 on the calendar dated for today. Item 3 on the calendar dated for today.
Representative Langford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1488.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, for the record, this is House Bill 1463 relative to flags.
Representative Langford moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1488. Without objection, so ordered. Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1488 and third and final consideration.
Representative Langford moves passage of Senate Bill 1488 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call for First Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, no amendments found.
Representative Langford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House Bill 1463 ensures that each year on December 7th, the flags over the state capitol are flown at half-staff in observance of Pearl Harbor Day. This bill is narrow, applies only to the state capitol, and does not impose any additional requirements on local governments, simply provides a clear and consistent observance in state law, and respectfully ask for your support, and I renew my motion.
Representative Langford renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Chairman Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a few questions, but first I want to give y'all a recap of what we hear on a regular basis in the Commerce Committee from our young freshmen. Who can forget that time he lit us up with
Representative Vaughn, you got a problem?
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't done yet, Mr. Speaker. Or I'm not so sure the most riveting question he asked in committee that might not have been do we get snacks? But I'm, you know, his stick-to-itiveness, his fortitude, it reminds me of that. And who would have thought that he would have been here today honoring Pearl Harbor Day? Because much like, he reminds me of that great line in Animal House, nothing's over until we decide it is. Did we quit after the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? So that's, no. Get some culture. But I do appreciate you bringing this bill with a little bit light. Everybody appreciates the sacrifice that those fine Tennesseans as well as others from around the world made at Pearl Harbor. And they should always be remembered. But what shouldn't be remembered is this lame first bill you tried to bring in here and pull the wool over all our eyes. He comes in, shows up with a traffic camera bill. We all know that what he was doing was taking video surveillance and casting it out on the dark web, might have even been sending it to China for all we know, probably just deploying 5G to do it. So we're on to you. We know that you're a silent assassin, but we, sir, are on to you. The final thing I'll say is about our new member and being a redshirt freshman, Chairman Moon and former Chairman Boyd and I can appreciate the position that you've been in this time. And that is you have followed a playbook that would do many a freshman very well. You came in, you sat, you listened, you came to your chairman's office after things to find out what was happening procedurally and why we were doing things the way we were doing them. And whenever you gave a vote count, you held to it. And for that, that's something that ought to be a textbook playbook for any incoming freshman into our body. So I congratulate you, sir. Glad to have you sitting behind me. And you have a long career here should you want it. Thank you, sir.
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chairman Vaughn, appreciate those comments, and I renew my motion.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, is it possible that you were in the choir when you were in high school?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, Representative, that's not possible.
Representative Parkinson.
I can believe that because when you speak, the only note that comes out of your mouth is the key of F. Your tone does not change at all. You honestly, you have the speaking tone of Micah Van Huss and the look of almost William Lambert. So I'm trying to figure out what's really going on here and how those relatives or that lineage in your ancestry crossed like that. Do you have an explanation for that?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, I don't have an explanation for you. I renew my motion.
Representative Parkinson.
Well, to the young freshman, you know, every now and then put a little inflection in your voice, you know, and being up here, I guarantee you at some point you will put a little inflection in your voice, you know, as these bills and as your bills start coming through committee and as they start getting peppered like it was getting peppered in your last bill. Now, whose idea was it for you to bring your last bill first and this bill second?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, because we didn't care what your response was. Representative, freshman representative, thank you for being here. We truly appreciate you. Looking forward to working with you, man. Thank you.
Representative McCallum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sponsor, it has been rumored to me that you are carrying this bill due to your sincere love of the movie. And this is an homage to Josh Hartnett and Ben Affleck, who was the best Batman. Can you shine some light on that?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've seen that movie multiple times, but this is about honoring those who served in the military and lost their lives on Pearl Harbor Day. And I renew my motion.
Representative McCallum.
Thank you, Speaker. It's also been rumored that the Faith Hill song from the movie is your ringtone. Can you clarify?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, that's not the case.
Representative McCallum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure I can fully trust you on that, but it's a great bill, and I'm glad you're here. You've done a great job so far, man. Keep it up.
Representative Travis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move previous question.
I think we have objection. I guess we're on the board of objections. All those in favor of previous question, vote aye when the bell rings. All those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 65, 26 nays, 1 present, not voting.
It prevails. We're now voting. All those in favor, voting for Senate Bill 1488, please vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member cast their vote? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mark. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 96, no nays.
Senate Bill 1488, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to roll this bill 1 week.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brought the body back to item 38, Senate Bill 2443, relative to unmanned traffic enforcement cameras.
Motion to roll 1 week without objection. So ordered. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings the body back to item 37 from yesterday's calendar. Item 37 from yesterday's calendar, House Bill 2184 by Representative Langford, relative to civil procedure. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative Langford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1858.
Representative Langford moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1858, properly seconded. Without objection, so ordered. Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1858 on third and final consideration.
Representative Langford moves passage of Senate Bill 1858 on third and final consideration, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, please call up the First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment 1, same as to Amendment 1.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Amendment number 1 is withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Langford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill makes three practical updates to the existing three-judge panel, allows the venue to be set in any county rather than only where the plaintiff resides, gives Supreme Court flexibility to appoint one judge from each grand division rather than relying on judges from where the case originated, and third, extends a time frame from the General Assembly to respond to redistricting issues from 15 to 90 days. These changes improve flexibility, balance workload across the state, and ensure a realistic time frame for legislative action. And I renew my motion.
Representative Langford renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And first of all, I just want to say, for the very reasons that Chairman Vaughn made fun of you, the late, great former leader Gerald McCormick would have described you as the perfect freshman. I learned the hard way. Also, you're making me a little nervous with those red folders up there. It looks like you raided a closet at Mar-a-Lago. Like that. So what, in all seriousness, at 9 a.m., what's the intent? What's the driving force behind this legislation? Did something happen in the last redistricting? What's the end game here for this legislation?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We adopted this in 2021, and since then we've had the opportunity to review how it works. Currently, 15 days is just not enough time for this body to respond to issues that we need fixed. So this puts us in line with how things currently operate. to pass legislation through.
Chairman Clemens.
So I guess my question is, you weren't around at that time. What was the exact issue? What was the holdup for this body responding within that period of time?
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I think you could use an example from this year. We were out for 1 week due to an ice storm, so this just allows us more time to respond to these legislative issues, to get through committee, and to get to the floor to be able to pass things.
Chairman Clemens.
Okay, I just want to make sure that when we redraw these lines in redistricting, and some of us have been through this once, some of us have been through it multiple times, that we get these issues, any issues that arise in a timely manner, because it is important. So I appreciate it. Thank you for answering the questions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I renew my motion.
Any objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 1858, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member cast their vote? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 76, 20 nays.
Senate Bill 1858, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings the body to item 39. Item 39, House Bill 1354 by Chair Lady Littleton, relative to criminal offenses. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Chair Lady Littleton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1225.
Chair Lady Littleton moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1225, properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Chair Lady Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1225 on third and final consideration.
Chair Lady Littleton moves passage of Senate Bill 1225 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up the First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt.
Chairman Farmer moves adoption of House Amendment number 1, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of adoption of House Amendment number 1, say aye. All those opposed, say no. We adopt. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chair Lady Littleton, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill creates a defense for an individual who is a victim of human trafficking and uses force intended to or likely to cause death or serious bodily injury against the person committed or attempting to commit the human trafficking offense against the victim. The bill states that the victim who uses force against their trafficker must prove their status as a victim of human trafficking by clear and convincing evidence, and also prohibits the release of a person arrested for the offense of obstructing a passageway for 12 hours from the time of the arrest. With that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chair Lady Littleton renews her motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Dixie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What does obstructing a highway or passageway have to do with trafficking, human trafficking?
Chair Lady Littleton.
What's the
Representative Dixie.
What's the correlation? Why is this included in this bill?
Chair Lady Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was just a part that was added to this bill.
Representative Dixie.
I guess my question is why?
Chair Lady Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, because we thought it was needed.
Representative Dixie.
Let me try this one more time. What does human trafficking have to do with blocking a highway?
Chair Lady Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It doesn't. This bill has two parts to it.
Representative Dixie.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to know it doesn't have anything to do with, doesn't have anything to do with the other, but thank you.
Any objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 1225 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member cast their vote? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 79, 13 nays, 6 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 1225 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1787 by Chair Lady Littleton relative to criminal offenses.
Chair Lady Littleton, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1787 on third and final consideration.
Chair Lady Littleton moves passage, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up the First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt.
Chairman Farmer moves adoption of Amendment number 1, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of Amendment number 1 say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chair Lady Littleton, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is brought by the TBI. The bill simply seeks to clarify current penalties in the law related to when an individual attempts to purchase a sex act from a minor, a person with an intellectual disability, or a law enforcement officer posing as a minor. It's long been the desire of the legislature to have that conduct punished as human trafficking. This bill takes the punishments currently listed in the Human Trafficking Code and lists them under patronizing code to help eliminate any confusion. With that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chair Lady Littleton renews her motion. Any discussion on the bill? Any objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of HB 1787 as amendment, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 96, no nays.
HB 1787 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2013 by Chair Lady Littleton relative to psychotropic drugs. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Chair Lady Littleton, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2088.
Chair Lady Littleton moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2088. Properly seconded without objection, so ordered. Chair Lady Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2088 on third and final consideration.
Chair Lady Littleton moves passage of Senate Bill 2088 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up the First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt.
Chairman Farmer moves adoption of House Amendment number 1, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of adoption House Amendment number 1 say aye. All those opposed say no. We adopt. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chair Lady Littleton, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This expands the definition of mass shooting for the purpose of requiring the decedent's blood to be tested for the presence of psychotropic drugs to include any shooting resulting in 4 or more individuals sustaining injury, a shooting in which a reasonable person would conclude that the decedent attempted to kill 4 or more individuals, and authorizes a law enforcement officer who has probable cause to believe that a person has committed a mass shooting to ask the person's consent a blood or urine test for the purpose of determining the presence of any drugs, including therapeutic levels of psychotropic drugs. And it requires the hospital where the blood or urine sample was procured and tested to send the results of the drug test to the University of Tennessee Health Science Center. With that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chair Lady Littleton renews her motion. Any discussion on the bill? Any objection to the question? Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just had a few questions for the sponsor. Are you trying to,
when I heard you talking about mass shootings, I was hopeful that we were doing something to actually end mass shootings and address the issue of gun violence. But it seems that you're trying to create a correlation between psychotropic drugs or medicines and mass shootings. Is that what this bill is trying to establish? Or can you explain the logic and reasoning behind testing what medications people are on for being involved in mass shootings? Can you explain that, Representative Littleton?
Representative Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, we are trying to see if if psychotropic drugs are in their system.
Representative Jones.
Thank you. You know, all across the world, people take medicines and they have access to these things as well, but they're not having mass shootings. And so even if we can establish a connection between somebody taking medicine, it does not seem like it's logical for us to use that as the pretense for addressing mass shootings. And so can you see, you know, what is your goal once we get this information? I know you're retiring, but what is the goal, I guess, for the body? Once we get this information, what do you think can be done with it once we figure out and establish those points?
Representative Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The goal is to see if they are in there, and then maybe that they will not be as prescribed, or maybe they're too strong for the person, or it wasn't enough. So that's the goal.
Representative Jones.
Is it your assertion here before this body that you think that maybe perhaps these psychotropic drugs or medicines are responsible for mass shootings? Do you believe that that's what is the causation for mass shootings in our state?
Representative Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We think that possibly it could be, and that's why we want to have it tested to see.
Representative Jones.
Do you think it could perhaps be easy access to assault weapons or militarized guns? Could that perhaps be a reason why we're having mass shootings as well, Representative Littleton?
Representative Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's not in this bill.
Representative Jones.
I mean, I think that's the point I'm trying to make, is that this bill is about talking about mass shootings, but it does nothing to actually address the cause of mass shootings and school shootings that we've seen across this country. Again, every country in the world has people who have mental health illness or access to medications, but they're not seeing the same level of mass shootings. And so this bill is a false solution, and it's also rooted in a false type of science, and also is poor public policy because it's not going to actually help the people who are being victimized by mass shootings in our state. And so I appreciate you taking time to answer the questions and for offering your opinion, but I think it's rooted in faulty logic and in a faulty assessment. So thank you.
Representative Rudd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sponsor, for running the bill. It was recently said incorrectly that there are no mass shootings elsewhere. There are mass shootings that have occurred in Canada and Australia and Sweden and Britain and Russia and Yemen and the Philippines and Uganda in the last 50 years. So they do occur elsewhere, and most of these countries do ban guns now, but they still get a hold of them. Every mass shooting that I'm aware of that has occurred in the United States in the last 2 decades has been at the hands of someone that was under psychiatric treatment or mental illness or under prescriptions. And that is obviously a root cause of this. And thank you for running it. And I appreciate it.
Representative Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I renew my motion.
All right, any further discussion? Representative Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Chair Lady Littleton, I appreciate the bill. In the same vein of the conversation that we have, it was last year I had visited for about an hour the Child Advocacy Center. And these young ladies with broken homes and abused children, it was sad to hear so much going on in our small communities, which means it's going on across all 95 counties. And as I was getting ready to leave that meeting, there was a young lady stepped up to me and said, Representative Reedy, if we could get our arms around substance abuse, mental health would take care of itself. And many times, coming to find out, we all lean towards, when we have pain and anxiety, looking for drugs or alcohol on trying to find a way out. And it's amazing what we spend every year, $500 million for the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. So we need to find out what these different substances are doing to our family, our friends, and then it leads them down to that road of suicide. Once again, thank you for the piece of legislation.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 2088 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 76, 21 nays.
Senate Bill 2088, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. The motion reads series table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2082 by Chair Lady Littleton and others relative to children. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Chair Lady Littleton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1989.
Chair Lady Littleton moves to substitute and conform Senate Bill 1989 without objection. So ordered. Chair Lady Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1989 on third and final consideration.
Chair Lady Littleton moves passage of Senate Bill 1989 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Chair Lady Littleton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill protects parents from a termination of parental rights or from anyone taking their children. It simply lets a child have enough time until they are a legal adult to decide what they want for themselves for biological sex changes and social transitioning. This bill does not allow a parent to abuse their child, and a parent will still be prosecuted under the fullest extent of the law if they are found abusing their children. With that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chair Lady Littleton renews her motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1989 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 79, 16 nays.
Senate Bill 1989 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed without objection. The motion reads series table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1725 by Representative Mayberry and others relative to Department of Children's Service members. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative Mayberry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1817.
Representative Mayberry moves to substitute and conform Senate Bill 1817, properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Representative Mayberry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1817 on third and final consideration.
Representative Mayberry moves passage of Senate Bill 1817 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Education Committee Amendment Number 1, same as Senate Amendment Number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's the same as the Senate amendment, so I move to withdraw.
Without objection, Committee Amendment Number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Mayberry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill establishes various requirements for LEAs to provide enrollment and services to certain students who are dependents of children of service members that are in the armed forces. I renew my motion.
Representative Mayberry renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1817 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 95, no nays.
Senate Bill 1817 have received constitutional majority. I hereby declare it passed without objection. Most reeks are stable. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1895 by Representative Mayberry and others relative to parental notification of classroom evacuations. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative Mayberry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2087.
Representative Mayberry moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2087 properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Representative Mayberry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2087 on third and final consideration.
Representative Mayberry moves passage of Senate Bill 2087 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Education Committee Amendment Number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is the same as the Senate amendment, so I move to withdraw.
Without objection, Committee Amendment Number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 2 by Representative Johnson. Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Representative Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, what this amendment does is say that any school getting public tax dollars has to operate under this bill as well. If you think that this bill is good for those kids getting public tax dollars in private school, then in public school, then the same should go for the kids in private school. So if we are doing it for one group that gets public tax dollars, we should do it for all students getting public tax dollars. We know that $300 million now is going to be going out each year for students with vouchers. And shouldn't they be under the same guidelines as our public school students? That's what this amendment does. Voting for this amendment demonstrates that you think everyone should be held accountable for public tax dollars, just not a select few. If you vote against this amendment, it means that You think certain groups are excluded and that there should be no accountability for 300 million in tax dollars. I move adoption.
Representative Johnson moves adoption of amendment number 2. Proper motion, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Move previous question on the amendment.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 2, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 23, 71 nays.
Amendment number 2 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Mayberry, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill requires LEAs to notify parents or guardians of each student that is evacuated from a classroom due to disruptive behavior in the classroom no longer by the end of the day. I renew my motion.
Representative Mayberry renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Chairman Clemens, you recognize.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. With regards to classroom evacuation, it includes the removal of a single child who may substantially interrupt classroom instruction. Why are we requiring the school to notify every parent of every child in the classroom if a single child simply interrupts classroom instruction? I understand if there's violent, aggressive, or severely disruptive type of thing that may create a threat to safety, but this substantially interrupts classroom instruction is a bit vague and seems like it's going to put an onus on teachers to report just your general incidents where they may send a child to the principal's office that interrupts the classroom instruction.
Representative Mayberry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The intent, and this was talked about in committee, but the intent was this was brought to me by a constituent who is actually a public school teacher. His child was removed from a classroom because of another disruptive child. His child ended up being very upset, and this child didn't get to talk to him about it until he got home. He was upset that he didn't get notified. Kind of find out as I talk to others, this is happening across the entire state. So the bill, the intention is that if a classroom is cleared because of a disruptive child, the entire classroom is notified. The reason for it is you don't want to single out the one child that was the disruption child. So you're going to tell all the parents so that you can't go and figure out which child was the one that caused the disruption to needlessly cause retaliation on that family. So that's the reason the entire classroom gets told about it.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it seems like in the instance, the antidote that you provided, it seems like the children who were involved in it would certainly want to notify their parents. If multiple children were removed, notify their parents. But just simply, if a child acts out, interrupts classroom instruction, send to the principal's office, then you have to turn around and notify every single parent in the classroom. Or even if another child, was upset by it and sent, then notify their parent. But every parent in the classroom seems a bit much. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Mayberry.
Yeah, so again, every child that is disrupted, they are a part of the incident, and that's why we're going to let them all know about it.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I get where you're going with this, but what happens in the special education classes where a child might react violently and it's just him to him and not, but he's acting violently and they remove the other students so they won't be harmed, but no student was harmed, but it's a special education class.
Representative Mayberry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I've had multiple people over my tenure as a school board member reach out to me where their children were in special needs classrooms and they don't feel like they get enough information from the classroom. So from the feedback I've gotten over many years, they would like to know if their child was evacuated from a classroom. And sometimes in special needs classrooms, you may have kids that are nonverbal and they can't go home and tell their parents about what happened. So the information that they now are going to get from the classroom, from the school system, they're going to be very appreciative of it from my tenure there. And I do want to say that I did work with my school system with this bill, and they're 100% supportive of this piece of legislation.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm supportive of the idea of the legislation. I truly am, and may vote for it. But I think there may need to be some levels to this, or some type of tiered approach, to this. Or you could have, some of your schools, or anybody else's schools, to where they're possibly contacting parents multiple times a day. Let's say, for instance, the special needs student has a violent reaction at 9 a.m. The classes, the other children are moved out, so that they don't get harmed by through a reaction, and then the student is calmed, put back in the classroom, and then the student does it again at 11 o'clock. And then that same thing happens, and then he does it again before dismissal. So we're going to be contacting those parents 3 times, let's say in that case 3 times in one day. And it's not that the school doesn't have control of the classroom. It's just that you have a student who has special needs possibly, and these are some of the things that happens with that student possibly on a daily basis. What do we do in those situations? Because I get where you're going. What do we do?
Representative Mayberry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the distinction is not reporting multiple times a day. At the end of the day, they would report once what would happen within that classroom. But it's also not reporting on each time a child leaves the classroom. It's reporting on if the entire classroom is evacuated because of another child. So that's the difference there.
Representative Parks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sponsor.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll call previous question.
Previous question. We're on the board. All those in favor of previous question, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Has any member wish to change their vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 64, 29 nays, 1 present, not voted.
Previous question prevails. We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 2087 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Does every member vote? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 57, 32 nays, 5 present, not voted.
Senate Bill 2087 has received a constitutional majority. I hereby declare passed without objection. Most reconsider table. Next bill, Ms. Clerk.
House Bill 2139 by Speaker Pro Tem Marsh, relative to cargo theft. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Chairman Vaughn, for what purpose?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm out of order, but Representative Chairman White and myself would like to introduce a former member who's on the floor with us here today, Brad Martin, who is a former interim president of the University of Memphis as well. He presently serves as the chairman of FedEx. And so he's back visiting today. He served here from 1972 to 1982. And you'll have to excuse him, he's having a few flashbacks looking at people sitting in other people's seats that he remembers from his time on the board. But if y'all can make him feel welcome, we're glad he's here today.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2466.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 2466. By second, without objection, so ordered. Speaker Pro Tem Marsh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2466 on third and final consideration.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh moves passage of Senate Bill 2466 on third and final consideration. By second, Ms. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 1, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Committee Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill addresses a rapid growing form of cargo theft. Cargo theft is estimated to be over $1 billion a year or $18 million a day. This bill establishes a statutory definition of fraudulent freight theft and establish a standardized freight theft reporting process. This legislation treats fraudulent freight theft as theft under Tennessee law. With that, I renew my motion.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh renews the motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 2466, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 96, no nays.
Senate Bill 2466 having received constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed without objection. Most reconsidered tabled. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2261 by Chairman Martin relative to writings eligible for registration. Mr. Speaker, Senate Bill's on the desk.
Chairman Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2353.
Chairman Martin moves substitute and conform Senate Bill 2353. Properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Chairman Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2353 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Martin moves passage of Senate Bill 2353 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call for First Amendment.
House State and Local Government Committee Amendment number 1, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same as Senate Amendment. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Committee Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this bill adds certain requirements when recording notices, affidavits, memoranda, or abstracts of agreements to purchase real estate. This bill would require that both the buyer and the seller sign these documents to be eligible for recording. By adding this extra layer of transparency, this bill helps ensures the legitimacy of these agreements, further protecting against fraudulent activity. This bill also requires that both the signature be authenticated by a notary or witness. And finally, the amendment clarifies which documents this applies to. With that, I renew my motion.
Chairman Martin renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 2353, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Has any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 91, nay.
Senate Bill 2353 having received constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed without objection. Most reconsidered table. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2423 by Chairman Martin relative to librarians. Mr. Speaker, Senate Bill's on the desk.
Chairman Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2348.
Chairman Martin moves to substitute and conform Senate Bill 2348, properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Chairman Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2348 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Martin moves passage of Senate Bill 2348 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call for First Amendment.
House Education Committee Amendment number 1, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection. Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Currently, an applicant must be a certified librarian information specialist to be eligible for employment as a librarian. A principal from Hamilton County asked if we could expand this pathway to help with recruitment and modernizing the librarian role. This bill expands eligibility in 2 ways. First, it qualifies an advanced degree in media and technology to lead a library information specialist endorsement. Applicable degrees would be determined by the State Board of Education and the Department of Education. And second, it provides the option for high schools with less than 750 enrolled students to employ someone with a valid teaching license as a school librarian. This language scheme is similar to the State Board of Education rules for K through 8. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman Martin renews the motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Dixie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is, why do we not require anybody who's teaching math or science with these same requirements, have additional training or specification in that particular area?
Chairman Martin, you're recognized.
Well, I wouldn't say that we're requiring them. What we're doing is we're giving flexibility that when schools that are smaller schools are having a challenge finding someone that has that library, the traditional library certificate, that they would be able to get someone who is a certified teacher in those situations.
Representative Dixie.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman Martin.
I renew.
All right, Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, it was after committee that the school librarians found out about this piece of legislation. They are adamantly opposed. I received many phone calls and many emails from school librarians saying that lowering the standard, this degree that we're going to allow, is nothing close to the Library of Science degree. It will lower the quality of the people in our libraries, lowers the standards in a lot of ways. So I think it's important that everybody here know that the school librarians are adamantly opposed to this legislation and lowering the standards of those working in our library.
Chairman Martin.
Thank you for those comments. I would not say that they just found out about it, because I've had conversations with many librarians for months about this as this bill has been introduced. So it's not something new. Second of all, that I would say about this is that we're not trying to lower the standards. People can still get a degree and pass the practice. We're making it available where people, if they get a degree in media and technology, that they too could do this. And second of all, or third of all, I would say, is that it's allowing the flexibility in smaller schools, just like in a K through 8 school, that you can have an enrollment of under 750. And you don't necessarily have to have someone who has all the degrees that would be of the traditional library. We're just making that available for high school. And finally, I would say this, that, I think today, when you think about the library, it's not what it was 30 years ago. I think with the internet and with your laptops, there's so much information. And it's like one person told me recently, representative, that who had finished their PhD or their EDD, that, they said, I finished my EDD and I never stepped foot in the library, because they didn't have to go into a building because of how technology has changed those things. And so we're just trying to make it where we can be more nimble, where we can have more flexibility, and make it where the local school can have more control over that issue.
Representative Johnson.
I don't think because you are a smaller school that you should have worse quality. And these folks don't understand how to teach research. Our librarians teach our kids how to research, whether it's using they also teach them how to use the computers, but they teach them how to research using your computer. They teach them where the reliable research is found. They teach them the difference of what a fake website looks like and a real website. So these folks training, our kids actually need librarians more because of the change in research and how research is done and what that looks like on a computer or on their tablet or whatever it is. Just because the technology looks a little different, that doesn't mean we need librarians any less. Research, hopefully, is something that our kids are doing every day, and they need someone who is well trained in that to teach them how to do it. So just because a school has fewer students, I don't think that should change the level of the person that's going to be teaching our kids should be allowed to be lower. I just think that is unacceptable. We need more qualified people rather than less. And I do understand it's difficult sometimes to find these people, but what we need to do is make sure that we're making those classrooms and those libraries places where librarians want to be. And making the climate in our schools and in our classroom ones where people want to be, and paying people what they deserve.
Chairman Martin.
I don't think anyone wants a lower quality of education when it comes to a librarian or people that are in our schools just because you have a lower population. So I disagree with that statement that we want to have less qualifications. It's that sometimes in some smaller schools, it is more difficult to find people that are in this situation. Second of all, I would say this, that you made the statement, I think something like this, Representative Johnson, and maybe I'm wrong, but something to the effect that we don't want to have something different for smaller schools, but we want to find good people to go into all these schools, something in that neighborhood. That would be a fair statement, a recalculation. But yet what I would say to you is that we already do this in schools that are K through 8, that if it's 750 or under in their enrollment, then they can have the type of librarian that this is proposing. So we're not really changing that aspect of it. We're just saying that in the high school, if it's under 750, they would be able to have the same flexibility that they can have in one of the smaller schools that are in the elementary level.
Representative Johnson. Oh, sorry, that was out of time. Oh, nice try. Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to make a couple of points here that were shared with me by the school librarians who I trust and we should all value. The Age-Appropriate Materials Act that this body passed assumes the presence of a trained professional. So reducing library staffing does not reduce responsibility, increases risk, weakens oversight, and jeopardizes compliance with a very law that this body passed and felt appropriate. Developing library collections of books and resources is just one of many hats that our school librarians wear. As many of you remember from your time in school, school librarians are instructional partners. They manage school technology. They serve as the foundational go-to person to answer operational questions at times. And this is especially true in the smaller communities and rural communities where librarians wear a lot of different hats, where those school systems are suffering from even fewer resources than some of our larger systems. Determining age and maturity appropriate materials, which this body has evidenced its concern in recent years, it's not simply a clerical task. It requires professional expertise in collection development, instructional alignment, and quality selection. These are skills held by licensed library media specialists with advanced training. You decrease the training, you decrease the specialization, and make it even more difficult for our schools to comply with state laws. Additionally, and finally, all school libraries are held to the same standards put forth by this state government, regardless of enrollment size. Library media specialists uphold the mandated elements of the AAMA, selection of books using selection criteria, cataloging books in a transparent way for stakeholders, in an updated and inventoried catalog, and following policy when receiving feedback and answering questions from stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got to get back to respecting our educators and respecting our librarians and the quality education that job requires and demands, because our students deserve it. These are folks who wear a lot of hats. We cannot continue to lower standards for our educators and fail to respect these individuals who make such a lasting impact and positive impact on our students. I would encourage you to vote against this legislation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman Martin.
Thank you for those comments, Chairman Clemens. I would say that, first of all, with regard to respecting an educators, is that this bill came to me from an educator. And I'm respecting her, who brought this to me and said, I have a need in my school that I'm having a difficult time finding people that have the traditional path to being a librarian. Second of all, I would say that there are other people that can comply with the laws that we've passed. It doesn't just have to be someone who has a library information specialist. There are all kinds of people that everyone should comply with the laws, no matter who they are or what position that they have in our schools. And finally, I would say that this bill allows those with advanced degrees in media and technology to take the eligible praxis and other approved exams so that they can get the library information specialist endorsement. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman Martin renews his motion. Representative Travis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Bill 2348, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Aye, 70, 24 nays.
Senate Bill 2348, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed by objection. Most for exterior table. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1696 by Representative McCalman relative to public contracts. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative McCalman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1823.
Representative McCalman moves to substitute and conform Senate Bill 1823. Party seconded without objection. So ordered. Representative McCalman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1823 on third and final consideration.
Representative McCalman moves passage of Senate Bill 1823 on third and final consideration. Party seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House State and Local Government Committee Amendment of War.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Amendment makes a technical correction. Move to adopt.
Chairman Crawford moves adoption of Committee Amendment Number 1. Probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting Committee Amendment Number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopt the next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative McCalman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, what Senate Bill 1823 does is simply reduce the amount of time that the executive departments have to pay their bills from 45 days to 30 days, and it requires each department to provide a report to the General Assembly saying how many late payments we've had and how much it's cost Tennessee taxpayers and interest. And with that, I renew my motion and stand ready for any questions.
Representative McCalman renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1823 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 95, no nays.
Senate Bill 1823, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed by objection. The most for exterior table. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2438 by Representative McKenzie and others relative to Gold Star Father's Day. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative McKenzie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2275.
Representative McKenzie moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2275 without objection. So ordered. Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passes of Senate Bill 2275 on third and final consideration.
Representative McKenzie moves passage of Senate Bill 2275 on third and final consideration. By second, Mr. Clerk. Call the First Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Representative McKenzie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 2275 recognizes Gold Star Father's Day. Gold Star Mother's Day was founded by Grace Seabold in 1928 after the death of her son during World War I. And in 1936, Gold Star Mother's Day was designated for national observance. We learned that there's never been a national observance of Gold Star Fathers. So in talking with Mr. Arthur Hughes, this bill has been passed in Georgia and Mississippi. It was urged that we celebrate this on November the 9th because it coincides with the U.S. Marine Corps' birthday on November the 10th and Veterans Day on November the 11th. This allows for a unique opportunity to dedicate consecutive days to honor military service on a yearly basis. Gold Star Mother's Day was acknowledged by the state of Tennessee in 2009, and it's now time to recognize Gold Star Father's Day in Tennessee. I renew my motion.
Representative McKenzie renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sponsor, for the bill. In a time when we find ourselves almost at a continuous state of war, it is super important for us to remember not only the sacrifice of the men and women who serve, but in the case of the Gold Star family member, a sacrifice that's placed on the altar of liberty, that they will carry the weight of that sacrifice for the rest of their lives. So thank you so much for honoring Gold Star Fathers. I appreciate your bill.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I have a son that served in the Marine Corps. He is a Marine, and I just can't imagine what it would be like to go through life having lost a loved one for valuable service. So you're feeling kind of excited in a way that your son or daughter has given their life, but also it has to be a huge hole in your heart. So thank you for your comments.
All right, any further discussion? Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Call for the previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 2275, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 92, no nays.
Senate Bill 2275 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. The motion reconsiders table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1659 by Chairman Moon, relative to public records. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Chairman Moon, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1720.
Chairman Moon moves to substitute and conform Senate Bill 1720. Probably seconded without objection. So ordered. Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1720 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Moon moves passage of Senate Bill 1720 on third and final consideration. Probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House State and Local Government Committee Amendment number 1. Mr. Speaker, it's the same as Senate Amendment 1 and 2 combined.
Vice Chairman Wright, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Committee Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Moon, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, Senate Bill 1720 as amended keeps the home addresses of candidates nominated for certain judicial offices confidential, while still allowing this information to be collected for filing purposes. It helps protect the safety of individuals running for the position of judge, chancellor, district attorney, and public defender. I renew my motion.
Chairman Moon renews this motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1720, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change a vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 93, no nays.
Senate Bill 1720, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. Most reconsider table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2616 by Chairman Moon, relative to executive sessions for consideration of employment by a governing body.
Chairman Moon, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 2616 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Moon moves passage. Probably second. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House State and Local Government Committee Amendment number 1.
Vice Chairman Wright, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt.
Vice Chairman Wright moves adoption of Committee Amendment number 1. Probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting Committee Amendment number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Moon, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 2616 as amended allows for local government job applicants to request their application remain confidential. This only applies to director level staff, CFO, fire chief, specifically as positions filled by the mayor, by the vote of the governing body, or by the mayor with confirmation of the governing body. Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman Moon renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 2616 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 61, 24 nays, 6 present, not voting.
House Bill 2616 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. The motion reconsiders tabled. Lear Lambert, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to take up today's message calendar.
Without objection, so ordered. Call on first message, Mr. Clerk.
Item 1, House Bill 47 by Chairman Hill, relative to education. Mr. Speaker, on April 9, 2026, the Senate refused to recede from its adoption of Senate Amendment Number 1.
That's fine. Thank you.
Chairman Hill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to refuse to recede from our action in non-concurring in Senate Amendment Number 1, and that a conference committee be appointed to confer with like committee from the Senate to resolve the differences between the two bodies.
Chairman Hill moves to refuse to recede from our action in non-concurring in Senate Amendment Number 1, and that a conference committee be appointed to confer with a like committee from the Senate to resolve the differences between the two bodies. Properly seconded. Without objection, the motion carries. I appoint the following members: Representative Hale, Representative Darby, Representative Zachary, and Representative Towns. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Bill 254 by Chairman Doggett. Mr. Speaker, on April 9, 2026, the Senate returned Senate Bill 254 to the House.
Chairman Doggett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lift from the table the motion to reconsider our actions on Senate Bill 254.
Without objection, so ordered. Chairman Doggett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to reconsider our actions on Senate Bill 254.
Without objection, so ordered. Chairman Doggett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 254 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Doggett moves passage of Senate Bill 254 on third and final consideration. By secretary, Mr. Clerk, call for next amendment.
Amendment 2 by Representative Doggett. Mr. Speaker, it was timely filed.
Chairman Doggett, you're recognized.
The amendment is the amendment that we adopted last week that the Senate did not adopt, but we had withdrawn an amendment. So this amendment technically didn't exist, but it is what we tried to put on the bill last week. I move adoption.
Lear Lambert, for what purpose?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Due to that, and I think a couple other little issues, I move that we roll this to the next message calendar.
Without objection, so ordered. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1762 by Representative Gant, relative to Register of Deeds. Mr. Speaker, on April 9, 2026, Senate substituted House Bill 1762 for Senate Bill 1707, adopted Amendment 1, passed House Bill 1762 as amended.
Representative Gant, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to non-concur in Senate Amendment Number 1.
Without objection, we non-concur. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2272 by Chairman Crawford, relative to alcoholic beverages. Mr. Speaker, on April 9, 2026, Senate substituted House Bill 2272 for Senate Bill 2163, adopted Amendment 2, and passed House Bill 2272 as amended.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment basically puts some more guardrails into this particular bill, the Dolly bill. The limitation of personal liability of beneficiaries applies to the license agreement placed into the trust. That's what this bill does. Want to concur with Senate Amendment number 2.
Chairman Crawford moves to concur in Senate Amendment number 2, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Amendment number 2, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 78, 6 nays, 11 present, not voting.
Senate Amendment number 2, having received constitutional majority, I hereby declare concurred in without objection. Most reconsider table. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2366 by Chairman Hawk relative to public planning. Mr. Speaker, on April 9, 2026, the Senate substituted House Bill 2366 for Senate Bill 2157, adopted Amendment 1, and passed House Bill 2633 as amended.
Chairman Hawk moves. Chairman Hawk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Senate amendment makes changes we don't agree with. I move to non-concur in Senate Amendment number 1.
Without objection, we non-concur. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2374 by Representative Doggett relative to bail bonds. Mr. Speaker, on April 9, 2026, the Senate substituted House Bill 2374 for Senate Bill 2161, adopted Amendment 1, and passed House Bill 2374 as amended.
Chairman Doggett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Senate amendment is greatly different than that which we passed out of this chamber. I move to non-concur with Senate Amendment number 1.
Without objection, we non-concur. Representative Jones of Unicoi, for what purpose?
Sir, I know I'm out of order, but I have some folks here in the gallery from the town of Irwin. We have our Mayor Glenn White, Alderman Michael Baker, and Code Enforcer Ryan Blankenship here with us today. So please make them welcome.
Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, we are about done for our work this morning and would move that we resume these same calendars tomorrow.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Unfinished business.
Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After consulting with the Minority Leader and Minority Caucus Chairman, I move that House Bill 2080 be heard in the Department Agency Subcommittee this week.
You've heard the motion. Any objection? Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Scheduling and procedural announcements.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, this afternoon or today, Finance Sub will only be taking up its regular calendar that was issued. Those bills that come out on the regular calendar for Finance Sub will be immediately heard in Finance Full with its regular calendar that was issued, and then calendar rules immediately following Finance. The schedule for tomorrow, House session 8:30, departments and agencies immediately following session in room 1, with state and local immediately following departments and agencies also in room 1, Finance Sub immediately following state and local, Finance Full immediately following Finance Sub, calendar rules immediately following Finance. That is tomorrow's schedule.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call.
Roll call. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 97 members present.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
That completes the regular order, Mr. Speaker.
Leader Cochran, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, April 15th, 2026.
Without objection, the House stands recessed till 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, April 15th, 2026.